every citizen in this country, even a baby born today, technically owns close to $400,000. Not in a bank account. In a national wealth fund worth more than $2 trillion, holding stakes in thousands of companies around the world. But no one is allowed to touch a cent of it. This is Norway, one of the richest countries on earth. But look closely at this. Someone zips up a rain jacket and steps out the door. An old car starts up in the driveway. A line of people wait for morning bread. No one in a hurry. No one standing out. No gated homes. No rows of supercars. No building trying to prove that whoever owns it is rich. So, where does all that wealth actually show up? The answer is scattered across the next 12 months in the way they leave work on time and in why a family would leave the city behind for a wooden cabin with no Wi-Fi. It begins in the dark. "8 in the morning. The street lights are still on. An office door opens, the fluorescent lights flick on. Outside, it's still as dark as midnight. No one finds this strange. It's January. Further north, the darkness gets even more extreme. In some Arctic cities, the sun sets in late November and doesn't rise again until the middle of January. Even at noon, the only light is a faint blue glow along the horizon. Going that long without sunlight really does affect mood and energy, and Norwegians don't pretend otherwise. Many kitchens keep a light therapy lamp on the counter, used every morning as part of the coffee routine. Norwegians call it koselig, usually translated as cozy, but that translation falls short. Koselig doesn't happen on its own. It's a strategy built deliberately for the exact months when warmth is hardest to come by. Candles lit at breakfast. Wool socks by the door. An evening with no plan beyond simply sitting together. Norwegians didn't remove winter from their lives. They learned how to build a life around it. But the dark doesn't keep them indoors. In fact, some of them spend even more time outside, in the exact cold most of the world would avoid. A Saturday morning well below freezing. A group walks down a set of wooden steps, shrugs off their coats, and wades straight into the near-frozen sea. There's no competition happening. They're doing this because they want to. This isn't a new trend. Isbading, cold water bathing in the dead of winter, is part of the weekend routine along much of the coast, from teenagers to people well into their 70s. The word behind this way of living is FRILUFTSLIV, literally, open-air life. But calling it a hobby doesn't quite cover it. For many Norwegians, it's closer to an obligation toward the weather, however brutal that weather gets. What stands out is that almost none of this costs money. No gym membership, no expensive gear, just a door to walk out of. In one of the wealthiest countries on Earth, the most beloved form of recreation happens to be the cheapest. Not everyone can do this, of course, not even everyone born here. But for those who've made it a habit, stepping into water that cold on a winter morning isn't something to endure. It's a way of feeling alive. And if winter can be turned into something worth looking forward to, then maybe an ordinary workday here deserves a closer look too. 6:30 a.m. The light is starting to come back. In one kitchen, a mother makes coffee while two kids sit half asleep at the table. 7:30. On another street, kids walk or bike to school on their own. No adults in sight. This isn't neglect, this is just how it's done. 8. The office day begins. Lights flick on, computers boot up, a cup of coffee lands beside the keyboard. The work week here runs 37.5 hours, shorter than in most of the world. And by law, every employee gets at least 5 weeks of paid vacation a year, no explanation needed. 12. Lunch break. Many offices empty out. People head outside for a walk. 15:30. A father shuts down his computer, grabs his coat and heads out. No one stays late. No one side-eyes the person leaving early. Working overtime here isn't seen as dedication. It's seen as a sign that something wasn't planned well. 18. In another home, a family sits down to eat together. 19. Nobody brings up work. This is family time, a game outside, a short walk, or just sitting together doing nothing at all. Nothing about today would make the news. No events, no breakthroughs. But maybe that's exactly the point. This kind of boring, ordinary day is one of the hardest things to come by almost anywhere else. Here, the real luxury was never just having a good job. It's having a life left over once the job is done. But come April, even this steady rhythm breaks when the entire country seems to disappear from the cities all at once. An old wood-splitting axe, its handle worn smooth by years of hands. It hangs on the wall of a small wooden cabin, one that 3 generations of the same family have returned to every Easter. Easter week, and the city is nearly empty. Shops shut, streets go quiet, because the whole country has moved to the mountains. This is the HYTTE, the mountain cabin. Roughly 1/3 of families own one outright, and nearly half the rest have a key to one somewhere, through relatives or friends. The typical HYTTE is small, wooden, and deliberately inconvenient. Wi-Fi is weak or non-existent. Water sometimes comes from a well. And the firewood that heats it, you split that yourself. Elsewhere, the wealthy show off with marble and glass. Here, a millionaire's proudest possession might just be a plain wooden cabin where they wash their own dishes by hand. What do you think this family packs the most of? Not food. Skills learned almost as early as walking. Oranges eaten by the bagful out in the snow. And the strangest tradition of the week, crime novels. That's right. During a religious holiday, publishers roll out a wave of murder mysteries, and an entire country famous for being safe and gentle curls up by the fire to read about killings. Nobody can fully explain it. Nobody wants it to change. Maybe real luxury here was never about having more. It's about having one place where nothing is expected of you. But just 1 month later, this quiet country allows itself to get loud exactly once a year. In a small tailor's workshop, someone stitches silver buttons onto a sleeve, one by one, entirely by hand. An outfit like this can take hundreds of hours to finish and cost anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000, sometimes more. This is the bunnad, the traditional costume. And it's not simply a beautiful outfit. Every pattern on it works like a map. Red and green embroidered roses point to one region. Black wool with gleaming silver buckles points to another. Someone who knows how to read it can look at a crowd and tell you which valley each family came from, 3 generations back. This is almost the only expensive thing Norwegians wear in public, because it doesn't say, "Look at me." It says, "Look at where I'm from." May 17th. Across the country, from Bergen to the smallest villages along the fjords, the streets fill with parades. But there are no tanks, no missiles rolling past a podium. Instead, there are children. Hundreds of school marching bands waving flags, singing at the top of their lungs, while the adults line the streets and clap. Even when it rains, which happens often enough, the parade goes on. Umbrellas go up, the trumpets go slightly out of tune, and nobody goes home. The day they're celebrating is the Constitution of 1814. But the joy carries another layer to it. Norway spent 400 years under Danish rule, then nearly a century under Sweden. Only in 1905 did it become a fully independent nation, poor and barely known to the rest of the world. Less than 2 generations later, that unknown little country won a prize nobody saw coming. That story starts offshore under the seabed. If a poor country suddenly discovers a massive source of wealth underground, what usually happens next? History has more than a few sad answers. The money flows to a small elite, corruption spreads, and most ordinary people end up barely better off. Norway took a different path. Before 1969, this was a small country, living mostly on fishing and farming, far poorer than the world imagines it today. Then, late that year, a drilling crew offshore struck one of the largest oil fields ever found under the North Sea. What makes this story different isn't the discovery itself. It's what they decided to do with it. The government didn't hand the seabed over to foreign companies. They taxed oil extraction heavily, built their own technical expertise, and starting in the 1990s, funneled most of the profits into a national savings fund, governed by one nearly untouchable rule. The fund belongs to everyone, including people not yet born. And each year, the government is allowed to spend only about 3% of its value. Half a century of that discipline built the largest sovereign wealth fund on the planet, now worth more than $2 trillion. It holds stakes in over 7,000 companies worldwide, roughly 1.5% of the total value of every listed stock on Earth. Divide that up, and every citizen, as we mentioned at the start of this video, technically owns close to $400,000. But no one is allowed to withdraw a single cent of it. And here's an irony Norwegians themselves bring up often. The country that got rich off oil is now one of the fastest in the world to move away from it. In 2025, nearly every new car sold here was fully electric. They're using oil money to build a future that won't need oil at all. But that enormous wealth doesn't land directly in people's pockets as cash. It shows up in far quieter ways, and July is when that becomes easiest to see. A family pitches a tent on a grassy patch by a lake, cooks over a fire. Kids run near the water's edge. This land isn't a public park. It belongs to someone else, a farm nearby. But this family doesn't need permission. In Norway, they have the right to be here. The law is called allemannsretten, the right to roam. Nearly every mountain, forest, and stretch of coastline in the country is open to everyone to walk, camp, and pick berries, regardless of who owns the land. Wealth can belong to one person. The landscape doesn't get fenced off. July brings another strange thing. Almost the entire country goes on vacation at the same time. It's called FRILUFTSLIV, the common holiday. Offices empty out in waves. Out-of-office replies say back in August, no exceptions. That family by the lake isn't worried about stepping away from work for 5 weeks straight. Behind them sits a system that absorbs most of life's bigger risks. Free university, healthcare costs capped at a small amount each year, and nearly a full year of paid leave when a child is born, split between both parents. Not everything is free. Taxes here are steep. But in exchange, some of the biggest fears in life get carried by the whole of society instead of one family alone. Maybe wealth here shows up less in what people can buy, and more in what they no longer have to fear. But a system like that doesn't come free. And the cost of it is easiest to see the moment a Norwegian does something as ordinary as filling up their car or opening a bill at the end of the month. A stack of bills spread out on the kitchen table. Rent, electricity, income tax. The numbers are all high. Higher than most of the rest of Europe. At a gas station, someone fills up the tank and watches the total climb, nearly as high as anywhere on Earth. The strange part, this is an oil-exporting country. The very people who pull the stuff out of the ground pay some of the steepest fuel prices on the planet. But there's something else harder to see that shapes both wallets and behavior here. Not a tax, but an unwritten rule. Picture this. Someone wins the lottery or buys an expensive new car. Instead of warm congratulations, the more common reaction is silence or a raised eyebrow. They call it janteloven, the law of Jante. No parliament ever passed it, yet it governs this society more tightly than most actual laws. The whole idea fits in one sentence. Don't think you're better than anyone else. The upside is a society that's less showy, where the gap between rich and poor stays less visible than in most places. The downside is that people with big ambitions can find it stifling, and standing out too much tends to draw suspicion. So is that same equality what makes this place so comfortable to live in? Or does it also ask people to shrink themselves to fit in? But money and equality still don't explain the strangest part of daily life here. The sheer amount of freedom given to children, to a degree many foreigners find hard to believe. A kid bikes to school alone, crossing a few intersections, no adult in sight. No one honks to hurry them along. No one stops to ask if they're lost. It's ordinary enough that nobody thinks twice about it. But there's a smaller detail that might say even more. A wallet left behind on a cafe table. The owner comes back half an hour later. It's exactly where they left it, nothing missing. That's not luck. It's the output of something running underneath this entire society. Trust. Trust in neighbors, trust in schools, trust in the police. Trust that the system, most of the time, does what it's supposed to. That trust doesn't exist on its own. It's what makes everything we've seen so far actually work. High taxes are only bearable if people believe their money is spent well. A welfare system only holds up if people believe support will be there when they need it. And a child only gets that kind of freedom if the parents believe the whole society around them is quietly watching out. Maybe this country's greatest asset isn't the $2 trillion wealth fund. It's something that can't be priced. Trust between strangers. But not everyone in this country has experienced that trust and prosperity in the same way. On the Finnmark plateau, where Norway opens into an endless, treeless tundra, thousands of reindeer are on the move with the season, just as they've done for centuries. This is Sami land, the indigenous people of the European Arctic, who have herded reindeer across these ranges since long before Norway existed as a state. They carry their own language, their own dress, the gakti, and a singing tradition called joik, one of the oldest continuous song traditions still practiced in Europe. But the relationship between the Norwegian state and the Sami hasn't always been easy. For more than a century, the government tried to erase their culture, banning the Sami language in schools, renaming children. That policy is now the subject of an official apology, taught openly in the same classrooms that once enforced it. But a newer, more complicated chapter is still unfolding. On the Fosen Peninsula, Norway built one of the largest onshore wind farms in Europe, clean energy for the green transition. But that land is also where reindeer herding communities have grazed for generations. Reindeer won't graze near the turning blades, and new roads now cut across their old migration routes. The herders sued. In 2021, Norway's Supreme Court ruled that the turbines violated the herders' human rights under international law. But years later, those turbines are still turning. Young Sami protesters in traditional dress sat blocking government office doors, and demonstrations filled the streets of Oslo. Eventually, the government issued an apology and compensation agreements, new grazing land, a say in the wind farm's future. But the blades on Fosen today are still spinning. A country holding $2 trillion is still learning something money can't buy back. Even clean energy, in the end, has to stand on someone's land. By December, Norway goes quiet again. And after a year of watching how people actually live here, we can finally return to the question this all started with. A December afternoon in Oslo. Darkness falls early. Advent stars glow in apartment windows. Christmas markets sell warm glögg and gingerbread. Offices hold their year-end parties. There's no wealthy district set apart from the rest of the city. You couldn't look at how a house is decorated for Christmas and guess whether the people inside are rich or not. Looking back over the year, the pieces start to fit together. In January, they learned to live with the dark instead of fighting it. In February, they stepped into freezing water just to feel alive. In March, an ordinary day turned out to be the real luxury. In April, they left a comfortable home for a place with nothing in it. In May, they let children lead the parade instead of soldiers. In June, a decision made more than 50 years ago shaped everything that followed. In July, wealth showed up not in what they bought, but in what they no longer had to fear. In August, being rich meant learning how to hide it. In September, the whole system held together because of something that can't be priced: trust. And in October and November, they had to face the fact that even a wealthy, progressive country still carries debts it hasn't fully repaid. At the start of this video, we mentioned that number, close to $400,000 for every citizen sitting inside a national wealth fund, untouchable. Back then, that number sounded abstract, almost theoretical. But after a year, maybe it isn't abstract anymore. It's a mother who doesn't have to worry about a hospital bill wiping out her family. A student walking into university without carrying debt for it. A father taking 6 months off for a newborn, with no fear of losing his job when he comes back. An elderly person who doesn't have to wonder who will take care of them once they can't anymore. Maybe this country's greatest achievement was never becoming one of the richest places on earth. Maybe it was deciding that wealth should make ordinary life safer, not just more luxurious. Not having more. Having less to be afraid of.